Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D&D Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jack Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
You've read the books. You've learned the rules. You've played the games. And so is your mom. Just making sure you're paying attention. Now, it's time for something completely off base. From the same guys who haven't done anything exciting yet are the Paladins of Podcast, Rob and Potato. Listen in as they talk about all things related to pen and paper games, challenge rules, and go off script. This is the high fantasy commentary you didn't ask for, but your mom did. This is the Epic Table Audio Show.
What's up, everybody, to another Epic Table Games audio show episode with the Paladins of Podcast, Rob and Potato.
What's up, Potato?
Dude, what is up? Man, I am so tired I couldn't even do my own intro.
Yeah, we had to try at least twice.
Yeah, hopefully we know how to do a third time. How you been?
You know what? Not too bad. I got some exciting things I want to talk about. I know that we usually have some sort of stick right here in the beginning, but I would really like to hear about what you were telling me, because we're keeping secrets today, bro, and we're spilling them, aren't we?
Oh yeah. So, dude, I got a nice surprise for you. Okay. We finally got carpet in our house.
I don't know what to say to that.
Dude, it's great. It's 100% improvement, and I'm so happy that we pulled it off.
I hate carpet.
Dude, it's pretty soft, pretty good. I know some people like hardwood, but vacuuming up all that cat hair is so much easier than sweeping it up.
I hate carpet. You were super excited to tell me that, and I hate carpet.
You just killed my whole energy, man.
Oh, dude, here's the deal. I've had multiple cats, and I hate having cat hair stuck in carpet. I hate cleaning accidents up off of the carpet. I hate carpet stains. I hate dirty shoes on carpet. I hate that carpet fades. I hate that carpet gets squishy. I hate that carpet gets ruined. I hate that carpet retains smell.
No, true. Well, nowadays they're getting a little bit better with that, with the stain fighting and the odor resistant. They're getting a little bit better, but yeah, I have to agree with you. There's definitely a lot of fallouts with having carpet, but gosh, opening up a doors to have a whole ball of cat hair fly in your face sucks.
Sure, like I said, carpet keeps all that stuff in, and it's decently easy to vacuum. I will definitely admit that. Now, I'm not saying I love hardwood floors either, because I hate hardwood floors too.
I just hate floors.
Bro, you don't even know. Walking, oh my god.
If I could levitate on a comfortable chair all day, I totally would.
Bro, if I could, I'd be definitely holier than thou. Dude,
it'd be like Wally. I'd be one of those guys.
For sure, man. But but while we're not a flooring podcast, here's the stick.
There's a segue.
But
that's funny.
Honestly, I'm glad that you're really happy about your carpeting. Now, your place had carpet in the bedrooms, though, right?
Not when we moved in. When we bought the house, they removed all the carpet, so everything was the base floor except for the bathroom and kitchen.
Okay, I thought you had at least some sort of like tongue and groove. Did you install it yourself, or you get somebody to install it?
We hooked up with Empire Today. They had an amazing 50 off sale. It was like 50 off this, 50 off that, 50% off this. It was like a trio of everything being 50% off, and it was really cheap. They did a really good job.
Nice. Did you get your basement done too?
No, because it was recommended not to carpet a basement due to humidity issues.
Right, and I mean, I think you had your humidity down there anyway, but it doesn't matter because your sump pump also failed over last summer, didn't it?
Yes,
And
yes, it did.
you had a small flood, so yeah, it's probably better to leave that when you're painted concrete.
Yeah, we were thinking either doing that or doing some kind of like tile thing, but I don't want to feel like a big bathroom either.
Well, they have tile that doesn't feel like big bathrooms, but it's more pricey.
Oh, I could definitely imagine that.
So yeah, honestly, if you're happy with it, I'm glad that you got it. And there are definitely benefits to carpet. Like it's better to walk around barefoot. It's more comfortable on your feet.
And baby number 2 is on the way, so crawling on our hands and knees would be easier than on the base floor with all the chips that will get your toes.
You see, I think that would be easier to deal with than carpet burn. It's not like they pick up their knees anyway; they drag them.
True. Well, with our floor, it's very rugged. There's areas that like it caught my skin, like it would give me a cut. I'm like, man, I shouldn't bleed from walking on this dang floor. So dragging your knees across it probably won't be any better.
Well, I mean,
and it's very soft carpet, so that's a plus.
It is. It's brand new, so you're definitely getting lucky there.
Oh yeah.
And you remember stories of my second oldest where she would put her head on the floor and she would just run. She'd have
on
her forehead.
Yeah. I remember that. That's funny.
Yeah. So honestly, I'm glad that you got the carpet, especially if you're happy with it. It's not my personal flavor, but 4 kids, a million animals, constantly always having people over. For us, we need something that we can easily manage. And vacuuming is great, but a quick sweep up does the job for us. We do have cats that shed. For example, our dog's not too bad at it, but the cats can be bad.
Yeah.
And no, as we were talking, I'm not a hardwood floor fan. I put linoleum down in my kitchen because it was inexpensive.
Right.
And I really like the linoleum. They've got great linoleum. And I like a lot of luxury vinyl type planks and whatnot.
Yes. I actually like vinyl a lot as well, actually.
Yeah, that's really my preference. But knowing what your house looks like, I can see that carpet is really, it's actually an addition. It's a benefit to you guys. With smaller areas, it's nicer to be able to maneuver around. And you're right, you don't have all that cat fur hanging out. So congratulations. That's awesome, man.
The biggest plus is we went to Lowe's and Home Depot, and the project for how much square footage that we wanted was touching on the $6,000 range. And sure, there's financing and this and that, but still, like that's where I was heading. With Empire Today, it was $2,500 to get the whole job done.
That's really not bad.
Not bad at all in comparison. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Right. I'm like, everybody has to make their own house their own, and I'm sitting here. I'm like, wow, that seems like a lot for carpet.
Yeah.
But I've never done carpeting for myself. But good deal. Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Do you want to hear a small tidbit of good news from my side of the personal life here?
Yeah, your neck of the woods, man. What's happening?
I talked to a mortgage guy. You've known kind of like what our financial situation has looked like and whatnot over the last few years.
Oh yeah.
And with where we're sitting right now and some of the things that have happened in the past, he says that we're looking pretty good for a mortgage at the end of May.
Nice, dude. That's huge.
It is huge. Our credit scores are up there. He says that if we get any sort of revolving credit paid down, we're looking really good. But right now, it's really not too bad. And he'll let us know on Monday if there are any programs that we can do to help amplify our essentially our buying power, because we're technically first-time home buyers again.
Oh, sick, dude.
Yeah. Thank you.
So hopefully, it sounds like by May you'll be able to get your own house, man. Enough of the trailer park living.
Maybe I really wish that wouldn't have been on air, but yeah. It's one of those scenarios where we are finally getting back because we made a few mistakes, and yeah, we've been working diligently to do it. So sounds like we've got both really good news on the home front, pun intended.
Heck yeah, man, that's awesome.
Good deal. All right, let's totally switch gears because I'm really excited about something that I want to talk to you about. I gave you some teaser images earlier on these ideas.
Yes, dude. I'm really liking the flair they gave in these images, and I really want to hear what you got going on.
All right. So, as a small preface, everybody knows that Epic Table Games has been creating 3D printed dungeon tiles for our customers, but it's not the first and last stop that I want Epic Table Games to focus on. I want to actually publish content, and we've even touched base on wanting to publish certain things, and we're slowly starting to get into that, working things out here and there. So, today, I've nailed down the second idea that I've had. My first idea I had earlier this week, I started working and putting together. And having a background in visual communication, graphic design, and marketing and whatnot, I really like to develop these ideas visually to help give me the creative juices to work on the rest of it.
Oh yeah, that's how your method of inspiration works, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really closely related to things like comic books and graphic novels. They resonate because it's visual and it's still reading.
Exactly.
But anyhow, I want to develop a modern, hard-nosed detective noir style game, and I want to develop a cyberpunk style game.
Tell me a little bit of the noir part. That sounds very interesting.
All right. So you remember Dick Tracy?
Yes.
All right. So Dick Tracy was super popular between the 30s and 40s. And when I say popular, I mean he was massively popular for his time. And this detective style noir film is really I honestly don't know the best way to really describe what a lot of noir could be. So I'm going to pull out the actual definition of noir. And it's a genre of crime, film, or fiction characterized by cynicism, fatalism, and moral ambiguity. So cinematic term primarily to describe a stylish Hollywood crime drama that emphasize the cynical attitudes and motivations. So,
Ooh.
yeah, and it's, for example, some of these example movies that are considered noir, and I'm going to give you a list of these, and I want you to tell me some that kind of stand out as different. Okay?
Lay it on me, man.
All right. Sin City. Typical noir.
Yes. I like that feel.
All right. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
I don't recognize that one.
All right. It's a great fun action movie. I wouldn't actually consider it noir, but it still fits the bill. Have you seen Polar on Netflix?
Polar?
Yep.
No.
Great action film. Again, wouldn't consider it noir, but it is.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have in this thing that you might be familiar with? I'm trying to also think about movies that you have seen. Trying to get this right.
Murderer on the Orient Express.
I think that's in here.
I think that's a noir-esque movie. It's like a murder mystery. I guess that's noir. You know what? That's a good point. What's the definition of noir?
I read it to you.
Yeah, right. But like, if you really think about it, it could be blanketed and stretched more than what the definition holds. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. Okay. So, here, Veronica Mars. You're familiar with that?
Yeah.
All right. It's considered noir.
And I actually wouldn't have thought that, to be brutally honest. Yeah, interesting.
Just like I didn't think Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. But here's the one that it's a popular noir movie, and I know for a fact that you have seen it. Do you want to take a guess?
Batman.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Got it.
Batman Begins, The Dark Knight are considered popular noir films.
I have to agree with you. I think that's a very hyper stylized noir, but still dark enough that it's one of the best Batman movies.
Well, remember, it's the cynical attitude that really kind of develops that noir that a lot of these are playing on, like Dark City, even Who Framed Roger Rabbit or The Untouchables.
Oh, I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Oh, yeah, so good.
Yeah, that's not bad. So anyhow, I want to take this noir idea, and essentially, the players are working for a detective agency. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the key to being like sort of your hero, your anti-hero, your vigilante, is that you're not cops, but you are private investigators working to solve mysteries, murders, etc. Take down mob bosses, act as vigilantes, put the bad guys down for good if you need to.
Right.
With the modern elements of fantasy. So you mix with vampires and things that go bump in the night.
Ooh. This reminds me of a video game called what was it called? The Wolf Among Us? I think that's what it's called.
You know, I've seen the cover. I can see it, but I've never actually played the game.
It's made by Tall Tale Games. They haven't made a game in a while because of, litigation and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
you know what? I have
that game, man. So good.
Yeah, I have. I think I've even played it for a little bit. I think it was free for my PlayStation in 1 month.
It's cool because it's all like the folklore tales put in a very serious, dark situation, and the werewolf is this like PI. It makes sense because he has a nose for it, pun intended.
Right, and that's just it. So the idea is essentially modern fantasy, urban modern fantasy with dark elements.
I like that a lot.
Wrapped in the fact that, the world is probably going to end and I'm just doing what I can to save it, but I am tired and exhausted. So, it's pretty much how we all play fantasy-based games anyway.
Yeah, it really is. What about like character creation? Will we be able to play as more fantastical creatures? Are we going to play as humans?
So what I'm thinking for character creation is actually having a few essential like races, or probably having a few core races, and not necessarily like all your standard D&D races. I don't know if I'll have orcs and elves and gnomes,
right,
dwarves and halflings, but I'll probably include things like humans and fairies and elves.
Yeah, like I wanted to suggest like the old iconic movie monster races, a vampire, a mummy, a werewolf. But then I was thinking, well, Hotel Transylvania kind of does that, and I don't want to muddy up this concept thinking of that movie, but with, detective allure on top of it.
Right. So
like a werewolf detective to me sounds great, but it doesn't mean that it has to be part of it.
Wolf cop. But
Wolf cop.
It's one of those situations and scenarios that I'm still working on, but I like the idea of a majority of the more fantastical creatures to be non-playable characters that you could come up against, because that pits your general normal trope of normal person in extraordinary circumstances.
Right. You still want it to be almost a rare mythical kind of event, not just you're just an everyday werewolf. Make that special and have that an impact still when you encounter something like that. I like that.
Right. And like everything I've been doing lately, I'm really trying to build it off of the D10 face rip system, because with that particular system, a lot of your general starting stats can be random, and I'm going to go with a semi-classless system. So you will create your characters, and they won't have a particular class. They'll just have particular flavor.
Gotcha. I like it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to do for it. And working out the details is going to be a little easier for me because I'm more familiar with that hard-nosed, hard-boiled detective style media, especially with some of the material that I've been reading. Like, I'm a big fan of the Dresden Files, and that could be considered a noir book series.
Are you still reading that series, or did you like are you rereading them?
No, I'm currently caught up as far as I know, and I'm just sort of waiting for the next story to come out.
Gotcha.
And I listen to the audiobooks because it's the easiest thing for me to do, especially on long commutes.
Yeah,
I don't always have time to sit down to a book. With having all of the audiobooks, it was a lot of content to ingest. So it took me a long time. I almost started getting burnt out there at the end. So having this break and not listening to them again is a situation where it's refreshing.
Oh yeah. I definitely can see that, and that's good actually. You don't want to get burnt out from something like that.
Right, especially if it's something that you really enjoy.
Yeah. I remember getting burnt out for a little while on D&D, listening to like podcasts and stuff. I'm like, I'm kind of done listening to this actual play stuff. I'm just going to take a break. And thank God I did, because when I got back into it really hard, and I enjoyed the crap out of it again.
Right.
So, yeah, it's what you got to do, I think. Just give yourself a little break. It'd be better off that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
do you have like a specific mechanic or some like neat hook in mind, or are you still like trying to figure something out there?
I need you to kind of explain a little bit farther what you're looking for here.
Well, I'm thinking a nice hook mechanic for Dark Noir could be some sort of RP related ability that maybe you gotta build up points on or something like that in order to pull off a good moment in a dire situation. Let's say you're interrogating a werewolf. All right, I don't know why we're going to hug up on werewolves. That's beside the point.
That's all right. I prefer werewolves over vampires.
Sure, I love werewolves. You're interrogating a werewolf, and he's starting to get very angry. He might burst out of his handcuffs. You don't want this situation to happen, so you spend like this certain reservoir that you have, this certain mechanical currency to then pull off a particular action to either subdue the werewolf or calm him down or basically end the scene, and any sort of epic moment that you can generate without having to think, oh, how am I going to say the right words? Maybe something like that would be helpful for players.
I'm not.
I'm trying to be vague and trying to explain at the same time without like, I don't know, trying to make sense of it. I don't know.
Well, being vague is definitely hurting the scenario here because it's hard to answer that question while you are being so vague. But
right.
I think overall, I mean, an intervene mechanic might be something to look at, or again, finding a way to essentially mechanize the rule of cool.
Yeah, so, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at. And the only reason why it's hard for me to explain is because I'm trying to think of a game that has a decent enough hook to reference, and I got nothing. I know there's games that have them, because that's the only reason why I brought up a hook mechanic, because I know that they have them. I just can't think of any on top of my head.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where I'd have to look a little farther. I know that we have a lot of good reference material when it comes to game mechanics between all of the Epic Table Games library between us both. I mean, between Savage Worlds and Mutants and Masterminds mechanics, or Blades in the Dark, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, all the way back to early D&D, first edition, second edition, Pathfinder, whatnot. We have things that we can kind of pull reference and inspiration from, but the idea behind the set mechanics is, again, this D10 face rip system, which is classic Marvel Superheroes by TSR.
I was going to ask you, is that TSR? Good thing I remember correctly.
Yeah, and a lot of people have asked me lately kind of why I'm hung up on the system, and there are two things about it that make it super simple, effective, easy, and fun. And A, it's you roll your d10s, and your success is based on a chart of no success, barely successful, successful, very successful, epically successful. So
Right.
you don't have to roll and do a enormous amount of math. It's roll and check. In fact, you essentially know what you're doing and how hard and or easy it's going to be based on what you're doing.
Right.
So,
It's kind of like Pathfinder. It's usually you roll under or you surpass a DC, like a threshold. And
Right.
when it comes to the degree of how well you've succeeded or failed depends on the DM, unless you rolled a nat 20 or a nat 1. Having this chart is easier for the DM to decide, okay, well, you did it, but there's also a consequence. Or, man, you've done kind of, you're bad. There's a lot of wrong here, but you just got through the skin of your teeth, sort of thing.
Right. And then with the system, not only does the chart kind of tell you that, but your ranks in your skills have a set number, and that set number is your base number. And in old school TSR, that didn't change. So let's say you used your fighting ability and you rolled a success, and your fighting ability was rank 20, you would do 20 points of damage.
Yeah, that's simple. That's very simple.
It is. Now, what I'm looking at doing is finding ways to modify that slightly. And always use whole numbers, by the way. So you're not just doing random like 1s, 2s, 7s, things that aren't essentially divisible by 5.
Right. I do 2.3 points of damage.
Yep, round down. Always round down.
Yeah. Don't want to deal with that nonsense.
Right, exactly. So that's where I'm at right now. And I like this idea, particularly because we've played a bunch of modern games, but they all seem to be missing some specific type of flavor. And the flavor is half of what makes the game.
It really is. It's what makes people want to play it is the flavor. You know, how does it look and feel? What's going on in your head when you are ingesting the content?
Right. So that leads me into the second part of why I'm really choosing to bare bone the system is that it can be rules light. It doesn't have to be rules heavy. You know, the game itself is not going to be a million hours of downtime creating things. It's adventure with purchasable items, with reasonable goals, with long game stories if you want, that can scale appropriately. And it doesn't necessarily have to have, too many levels, like player levels like we're familiar with, class levels like we're familiar with, but it can be based off of essentially you gain experience points and you spend those experience points to level up your character as you get experience, and those experience points buy additional abilities or skills.
Oh, I like that because a lot of games, experience is just the points you have to dictate your level, whereas now the experience points is your currency to level up your character. I like that.
Right. Like for example, I'm not saying this is how I'm going to do it, but every 1,000 experience, well, you get your first, I will call them abilities. You get your first, no, abilities are essentially your stats. We'll call them powers for lack of a better term right now, okay? Let's say it takes 1,000 experience points to buy your first power. Well, you can spend 500 experience points to develop like a power stunt. So you can do something with your power that you weren't able to do before.
Like half of a feat.
Essentially. And then your next power would be an additional 1,000 experience points more. So 2,000 experience points. And it would continuously scale. So you would be spending more and more and more experience, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 experience. And by the time you get that fourth power, you've spent 4,000 plus 3,000 plus 2,000 plus 1,000.
Right. It's kind of like climbing a tree.
Right.
I like so that. In video games, some video games kind of do that same mechanic, and it works.
Yeah, and it's not a didn't look at a video game and say this is where I'm going to reference. I essentially am building this up and taking the notes down when I'm thinking about it because I want the game to be fast paced, minimally bogged down, and easily understandable. And having something where you're looking at a table full of party members who are essentially all private eyes, they have to have things that are going to separate them, unless they all want to be a table of wizards, essentially. But they need to have those aspects that are essentially easily obtainable without being behind a ridiculous paywall, essentially.
Yes.
So that is where I'm looking at to take this this modern noir fantasy game.
Oh yeah, dude. I dig it. I dig it. I definitely want to talk to you more about this and really get this hammered out because I think it'd be a lot of fun to play.
Thank you. And it's something that I really look forward to kind of pushing through. And I don't know if I want to send it through like Kickstarter or if we just want to do kind of like a quiet release on it and then advertise it from there.
Right. We're not at that bridge yet.
No. I mean, we're still in the early developmental stages. And one thing I'm really excited about is I like a lot of the art style in noir, like the noir art style, a lot of the Art Deco, black and gray,
yes,
black and white, dark shadows. So I'm looking at building up a lot of these images so the artwork can be pretty steady too, dude. Like I'm really excited about that. I'm looking at all my resources right now and they're keeping me pretty excited about ideas.
I actually watched a YouTube video the other day using Photoshop to do like filters and style pen or brush style brush patterns to make any image and turn that into a dark black and white drawing. You'd be like a real life photo, and then you do all this stuff, take these steps. Now it looks like you drew it on a piece of old parchment. It looks glorious. I don't know if I can ever develop that skill, but God, if I could, I would. That looks so good.
It takes a lot of time, and what's funny is having a degree and knowing how to do that. I haven't been doing a whole lot of creative art stuff for a long time, so I open up my apps and I look at them, and I'm like, man, I feel like I've got zero creative juices left. Like
You
I
click
feel
on
like
the app. Oh, 8 years for the last update. Darn. Okay, let's update real quick. Jeez.
yeah. Honestly, between that and just feeling so out of creative mojo, it's hard for me to do a whole lot anymore.
Yeah, I've been trying to draw more recently because I feel like I'm losing touch with what I've used to be able to do all the time. So I used to be very creative. I used to make things all the time.
Yeah.
And at work, I'll doodle on like a little piece of scrap paper or like a label from a printer. And sometimes I'll keep the doodles. A lot of times I'm like, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. But I want to get better. I want to draw more.
I want to get into painting a little bit more too. So it's just one of those things where you literally, if you don't use it, you lose it. And then when you want it again, you just feel defeated because it's not the same.
Yeah, especially when you notice, I can't pull this off like I used to now. How come these strokes are wrong? You don't look as sharp as I remember being able to draw it. Yep. It's the darndest thing. I could swear I use my feet, but my feet can't draw worth a damn.
Right.
Honey, look at this. Look at this. See here? Look at that stroke. I did it with my foot. That looks wrong, doesn't it? What's going on here?
Oh man. So
let's get out of that depressing topic right there and get back into the art style, the Art Deco. Love it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I love. We talked about art before, and we talked about fantasy art, and my plan is to use a lot of actual photography that's heavily edited. So it's going to test some abilities. Now, what's really funny too, by the way, is as much as we're talking about game design here, I don't want to have just my name on the book. I want to. So I'm finding ways to get creative with the credits in the book, such as the artists that we're pulling from and whatnot. And it's it's starting to feel like a almost like a Patreon thank you page. These are all my sponsors and supporters. And here I am. I'm using all their free stuff. I gotta say thank you to them for putting it out in the world. But I think the hardest part with both this and the other game that we have yet to talk about is actually going to come down to the playtesting, finding people who are willing to play it.
Yes.
Even though we're using a system that has designed the rules, we have to figure out the mechanics for the setting.
Yeah, balancing as well.
Yeah, and oh man, dude, I didn't tell you. Oh my god. So we are going to go off on a small little tangent. I was talking with a 5th edition dungeon master, right?
Yes.
And he seems like a pretty cool guy. He's like, "This is what I'm getting set up for the game I'm running tonight." And he sends us a picture, and it's a red dragon, and it's a medium-sized human miniature, and they're going to duke it out. Cool. I'm like, that looks a little small for an ancient red dragon. And he's like, nope. It takes like ancient great worms or wyverns to become colossal. I'm like, I guess it's 3-5 that still lingers in my head when I think of gargantuan red dragons. And we're talking a little bit more about how he's going to be running a one-shot coming up here. And his one-shots are 17th level.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's not sure how it's going to work out because it's hard to balance. And I almost cried. You want to know why, Potato?
Why?
Because we've been in games where we've been epic levels and it wasn't hard to manage or balance.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 5e is unable to handle such high levels, or if it's intended to, or if they just held on to it because people wanted it from previous games. But the absolute fact of the matter is, when you get certainly high level, it's not really as much of a question of balance anymore because everything is overpowered at those levels. But its intention is to be ridiculous. Like
it is.
If you read any high level anything, its intention is to be ridiculous. Like, hey, you're rewarded with complications and overpowered everything. And when everything is overpowered, nothing is overpowered.
Yeah, that's basically the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think the hardest thing to manage when it comes to high level play, in Pathfinder at least, is keeping track of spells and trying to dominate the battlefield to eliminate your enemy's ability to do a full round attack. No clumping, keep on the move, keep punishing with environmental hazards and give them conditions. That's all it's going to be happening.
And you have to think about it. A lot of times in higher level campaigns, I mean, it's hard enough to run multiple bad guys, but you need somebody power enough to take everybody else out. You're going to scale down on the minions and up the level of the bad guy, which means it's just going to turn into a slugfest eventually anyway. Action economy is going to win out every time.
Right. I feel regardless of the CR, if you have more attack rolls to make than your enemy, you are bound to win. The odds are in your favor.
And the thing is with the party is that you're not just considering your attack rolls in combat, you're considering everybody's attack rolls.
Yes, the party's attack rolls, exactly.
Right. So
there's 7 of us and there's 1 of you. We're bound to hit you at least once.
Right. So if all 7 of us have 2 attacks, that's 14 attacks. 1 of you does not have 14 attacks. You have maybe 3 or 4 at most. Or you can at least do area attacks. It's a scenario where you don't balance it at that point for the party. In fact, I don't ever think I've realized or been in a situation where I tried to balance something to make it easier or better for the party. I always try to balance, and I'm saying this with air quotes that nobody can see. I try to
I can
balance this.
I can hear the fingers.
Good. I try to balance things by making it way overpowered in favor of the bad guy. And
Yeah.
And people are like, Jesus Christ, Rob, why do you do this? I'm like, well, A, it's got to be difficult. B, nobody has died yet. Why are you bitching? In fact, people are like, dude, Rob, I've listened to how you play. I've played with you. I've listened and read things that you've posted about this. Your games seem like they are incredibly unbalanced and unfair. I'm like, A, they're not unfair. My party wrecks everything that they touch. And they intend to do that. That includes all the bad guys. B, none of them have ever died in a very long time.
Right.
I mean,
my
seriously.
character only died because I made a very piss poor decision. That wasn't in a combat.
He still isn't dead. That's the thing.
Right. True. Hey, don't spoil it now.
Talking about that character, for example, you know how difficult it's going to be to NPC that moment when his initial player is at the table.
Yeah. I can't wait for that cat to be out of the bag at the table.
Yeah, it's in it. It's gonna be interesting.
I can't wait for that moment. But yeah, it really is. It kind of comes down to the same adage. Really, it doesn't really change. The numbers are different, but you're basically playing the game the same way. You're gonna have a moment where the party is mashing too much. Well, make it a little bit challenging for them. That's balancing. You know, I don't think I've ever been like, well, this monster's too hard. Maybe I should weaken them. The only thing I would do is if I feel like, let's say, he has X amount of health. You hit the monster, and it wasn't enough to take him to 0. But I'm like, I feel like this is a good moment. That's the only nerf I'd give, is just round out and say, oh, you killed him, even though he had 10 more HP. That's all I've done.
I've done that if I've gotten bored with combat. I've also, my big thing is sometimes as a DM, you have so many things to manage that it's often really difficult to remember or see everything that your bad guy can do.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I didn't know you could do that attack. Oh, dang.
Yeah, I've forgotten certain attacks, or I'm like, damn it, he would have been doing this the entire time, but he didn't because I forgot. And yeah, it gets hard. It's definitely definitely a difficult job when you look at all the work that has to be done.
And it's a common thing.
Yeah, it is. And it's really funny because I told you I've gotten that the monsters know what they're doing. I got the book.
Yeah.
It's a great big book of tactics that I have to have time to read, to do, and use. And I understand a lot of them that are present, but everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Exactly. And I think even I've been doing that with my character. I keep telling myself I'm going to start with this combo. I haven't even done the combo yet in the game.
Right. And didn't you build your character around said combo?
Yes. So
yeah, are you really a one trick pony if you're not using your one trick?
Yeah, maybe that's a good thing, huh?
maybe. All right, so there was another idea I told you about.
Yes, the Cyberpunk one. What'd you call it?
Right now, it's just sort of tentatively known as Epsilon City.
Epsilon City.
Yep. And so here's my problem with Cyberpunk. Okay.
Better not say Keanu Reeves. I'd punch you through the screen.
Are you talking about the Matrix?
Cyberpunk 2077. But Matrix is kind of the same thing, actually. You think about it.
Yeah, and that's just it. So the Matrix is very Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk 2077, very Cyberpunk. And truthfully, even Ready Player One is considered Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash, which, while I'm not going to say is one of the modern representations of Cyberpunk, is way Cyberpunk. In fact, the term metaverse really was played in heavily from Snow Crash. In fact, there's a story behind Microsoft doing their Xbox Live, creating their avatars, and they wanted it to feel like Snow Crash's metaverse. And we're getting closer there now with what is Facebook, which is now Meta, and their metaverse and
Oh,
whatnot.
doing the Oculus and this and that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we're getting closer to all these things, but a lot of my favorite cyberpunk-esque flavor comes from essentially satire. And I don't think that Snow Crash, which is one of my favorite cyberpunk-esque books, is really considered law-abiding cyberpunk, if that makes sense. It doesn't follow all the cyberpunk rules. It really actually makes fun of the genre. And it's so excessive and ridiculous, and I think that's where the fun is. And when I see a lot of cyberpunk things, I'm like, this is still following that same vein. It's still making fun of big conglomerations, big corporations. It's taking a lot of these aspects and really chomping it down into bite-sized hilarity for common things that we're pushing ourselves into now. So
yeah, for real.
That was super long-winded, but it creates a problem because as much as I love cyberpunk and I love the world, the terminology, it has to be both unique and can't be too heavy from other places. So pulling from all these references has to still be original. And I'm finding it really difficult to build that up, In a cyberpunk world, are you playing in the metaverse or are you playing outside of the metaverse? And then if you're in the if you're in the metaverse, what stops it from just being general fantasy? And if you're playing outside of the metaverse, how do you also incorporate the two worlds together?
That's a very interesting and almost philosophical situation right there. I like that a lot.
It is. And sorry about some of the background noise. I've got some stuff going on at home that's I don't even know what it is.
But that's family life.
That is. But anyhow, the cyberpunk genre is one that I really love. And thinking about the Epsilon City game is one of those scenarios where I think I want to set it in the metaverse. And that's where we'll have things like your couriers and your hackers, your conglomerations, your all your general things when you think about standard generic cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially the setting. Think about generic cyberpunk. And there are already cyberpunk games out there. So it's how do I make this fun, easy, effective, and playable?
Right. It has to have enough I guess the term be enough niche to make it readable and not make it so alienated in comparison to other cyberpunk games. But I also don't want to feel like it's copy and paste.
Right. So it's an interesting blend, and I like it. I love the cyberpunk genre. It's just trying to get it right. And that's where, even though the idea is a little bit older, the concept is harder for me to work on.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with you there. It's a tough hurdle.
It is.
It's either there's like actual terms for different types of cyberpunk. Like industrial cyberpunk is Matrix.
Yeah.
And then Cyberpunk 2077 is like the neon cyberpunk.
And that's the thing. I mean, what you're thinking when you think the neon cyberpunk is what a lot of cyberpunk ideology really is. It's like it's neon lights. Everything is stuck inside the internet. You're essentially in, and that's where everything takes place.
Yeah, everybody has modifications, and they're like more machine than man. The city is always dark and it's only illuminated by the neon lights.
And
mega corporations is like the country now.
Yep. I mean, hey, based on what we're actually referencing, it's very similar to Demolition Man, honestly.
Dude.
Right? Would Demolition Man be considered cyberpunk? No, I don't think it would, but yeah, so
I feel it kind of would. I think that would be considered cyberpunk in a sense. It's a utopic cyberpunk.
I would consider it a dystopia.
Well, dystopia after Wesley Snipes comes in.
That, honestly, things don't have to be destroyed for it to be a dystopia. Remember,
True.
how good is so good you're actually bad.
Yeah. I just love how you get a ticket for swearing.
You got to do something to wipe your butt. Right. So what I actually wanted to do is, I know our audience isn't huge yet, but I wanted to couple this episode in a poll on Facebook, allow our listeners to respond. I want to know what out of those two settings they would really prefer to see. That modern noir fantasy hard-nosed detective, or the neon light dystopian dark future cyberpunk game. Those are the options. Those are the options I want to know. Good. And I don't want to, I know we talked about potential titles. I don't want to disclose anything too far, only because I'm really a big stickler on things like intellectual property. I don't want it to get out. I don't want it to be used before I use it. The whole deal. Yes,
you don't want to get burned, and you don't want to be ripped off too.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So I've spent a long time talking about this, and again, everything is still in development, so it's coming down to which one comes out first. What you got for us today? A monster spotlight, character spotlight?
Ooh, it is going to be a monster spotlight, my friend.
Awesome. Last week we had a double dose of monsters. Do we have another special treat this week, or is it something awesome?
I think it's a special treat. I think so.
Good. Let's hear it. What we got?
I feel this is one of those monsters that veterans to the fantasy setting in itself would recognize. But I don't know if a lot of newcomers will recognize this monster.
Oh, let me take another guess, because it's not the Sphinx, is it?
No, the Sphinx, no.
All right. Give me a few clues.
Okay, let's see. It is. It's a demon.
Okay, so we've really narrowed things down. Is it a chain demon?
Ooh, no, not a chain demon.
Flesh demon?
No. I'll tell you, this demon has a whip.
Chain demon.
Dude, you're completely correct.
The first thing I wanted to say was whip demon. Succubus.
Ooh, no, that's a very close one in a sense. But no, it's the Baylor.
Man, the big guy?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very iconic and enigmatic creature. As I was saying, veterans will recognize him.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. But what made you choose this guy?
Lord of the Rings, the Balrog, which is the Baylor.
You just decide to sit down and watch 9 hours of your life go by in a walk?
No, I didn't watch the whole thing. I just watched the clip because I really, I don't know, I wanted to watch it. It was on YouTube, so I clicked on it. I'm like, yeah, I'll relive this little moment in the legacy that was left behind.
Dude.
And yeah, dude, such a good scene.
You know what movie I go back and just watch one scene for all the time
in? What?
The rap battle from 8 Mile at the end.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in ages,
dude.
With the Falcon in it. Oh my god,
Anthony Mackie. Yeah.
Dude, I had a double take. I was like, no way, that's him. No way.
That's him, bro. Okay, so anyhow, before we get on some ridiculous tirade, tell me about the Baylor.
Yeah, dude. So, it is a freaking large, chaotic, evil, extraplanar demon in a very, like, the higher echelons of the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Iconic for its large horns, large wings. In some illustrations I've seen, it's either a very Diablo-esque being, or the Balrog from Lord of the Rings, or it looked like a big minotaur with wings. So, I mean, you take whatever one floats your boat more, but this guy, he's a truck. He is a big, tough dude you do not want to tangle with.
Right. So why are we tangoing with him today? What's his special ability that drew you in?
It is Death Throes.
Now,
That was interesting.
This is Pathfinder, or are we talking D&D? Baylor and D&D?
Ooh, you know what? I didn't even look up the D&D version of Baylor. I'm only looking up the Pathfinder one.
That's all right. I'll counter your Pathfinder with 5e. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, what size was he in Pathfinder?
Large.
All right. He's huge in D&D.
Whoa. Is it a Baylor or a Baylor Lord?
Looks like just a Baylor.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
CR20.
Let's see. I'm not coming across a straight. See, it says challenge 19. I guess that's their.
Oh. Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah.
Its armor class is 19 natural armor. I don't know a crap ton about 5e, so that can be hard to hit. Doesn't seem hard to hit.
The Baylor in Pathfinder has a 36 AC.
See, that seems
natural.
That seems hard to hit to me.
yeah, 36. Yeah, it's a little tough to get.
Yeah.
DR15, cold iron and good. Immune to electricity, fire, poison, resistant to acid and cold, and spell resistance of 31. Whew.
See, I'm looking at that too. I got damage resistance, cold, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks, and damage immunities are fire and poison.
Oh,
immune to poison. Yeah.
What's cool is that's the high level monster thing. They have all these resistances. They got all this immunities and whatnot. It's brutal.
Yeah. Now, I know that we've talked a little bit briefly about how I like to set up some of my saving throws, where if my character can't generally make my own saving throw,
then you did good.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the Baylor here, and I'm reading his attacks. And in 5e, he's got multi-attacks. So the Baylor makes 2 attacks, one with its longsword, one with its whip. And its longsword melee weapon attack plus 14 to hit.
Ooh.
Okay. We're pretty good. That's actually pretty good in almost every version and every game that we come across.
Yeah, that is very good.
With an armor class of 19, the Baylor would have to roll a 5 or above to hit himself.
I like that comparison. Because I'm now imagining 2 Baylors duking it out. Like, let's spar, bro.
Well, what that comes down to is that essentially, he's not that hard to hit.
No.
Because even if you have a +5, you have to roll a 14 or higher. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I think in the 5th edition scenario here, the hardest thing that you're going to have to get around is the fact that he's got a fly speed and he's got 262 hit points.
Yeah. That's a sponge. That is a sponge.
Right. Now, because you got Pathfinders right in front of you.
Yes.
You said he has a pretty big special ability.
Yeah, it has a few special abilities actually.
Okay.
I like Death Throes because it's something that you don't really see often in these kind of games, let alone with a demon. So, when killed, a Baylor explodes in a blinding flash of fire that deals 100 points of damage, half fire, half unholy, to anything within 100 feet, reflex DC of 33 for half damage. And the DC is Constitution based as well. So I guess that means the DC would go down if his Constitution is lowered?
If the Baylor's Constitution was lowered, no. That's generally just a pretty set save for the monster.
I got you.
For example, in 5e here, when the Baylor dies, it explodes, and every creature within 30 feet must make a DC 20 dexterity saving throw or take 70 fire damage.
Wow.
Or half on a successful save. So Right
That's
away,
weird.
what I'm noticing is that it's bigger with a smaller explosion in
Yeah.
5e, but the big thing is your explosion is so large that at 100 feet, I think your Constitution save is a Constitution save because the only thing you can do is weather the damage. Whereas in 30 feet, it's a Dexterity save in 5e because you can nimbly or barely jump out of the way.
Well, this is the confusing part though, because it says reflex DC of 33, and then it says the save DC is Constitution based. Maybe it's a D20
So
PSFRD mistype.
nope,
That's why I was
nope,
confused.
because you presented all of the information in a sentence this time. Yes, if his Constitution was to go down, his score would go down. The DC would go down as well.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, now that we have all the information there. But what it sounds like, can your Baylor teleport?
Let me see that here.
Generally pretty standard for demons.
I think so. Hold on. Yep, greater teleport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, baby. So it sounds like the creature's pretty much the same. They just tweaked them for specific versions. Now, because I'm familiar with how balanced and unbalanced certain aspects of Pathfinder are, that super high 36 AC. What was his challenge rating again? 19?
His CR is 20.
Okay. At a challenge rating 20, you know that your party members have to be very adept at combat, very tactical, and honestly, it sounds like I'm making this stuff up. We know they're just going to gang up on him, surround him, and bludgeon him in one round until he teleports away.
Yeah, that's how it's always going to be. Clump up and get your full attack action.
Right, but
That's
I
some
like
strategy.
I like him, and I like the reference because you're right. That's probably the coolest scene from all of the Lord of the Rings movies, not including the Hobbit trilogy, or anything like that.
Yeah,
But
I love that he's all about the whip as well. Like I can
Yep.
just imagine this fiery whip. He's entangling you with it. He has a flaming body, so when you get too close, you start taking damage. It's so good. Oh, and he
Mhm.
also has a longsword that he can wield in tandem with the whip.
Yep, we got that same here.
Oh yeah, that's good. And the thing is too, here's something I want to kind of kick off to you.
Okay.
I never even heard of the word Vorpal until I started playing D&D with you. Can
When you're
you
talking about something
explain?
like the Vorpal Blade.
Yeah, Vorpal Blade. He has a ability called Vorpal Strike. He has a
Mhm.
Vorpal +1 longsword, a Vorpal +1 whip. Can you explain Vorpal to those who may not know to this day?
So do you want more of the history or just a generic definition?
Who maybe in relative terms for the game mechanic side, maybe not like origin story.
Okay. So Vorpal itself is usually described as incredibly sharp and deadly. So usually it's considered so sharp and cut through anything without resistance whatsoever.
Oh,
Now, taking it a little bit farther, it's generally sharp enough to result in or capable of causing immediate death. All right, a disastrous blade.
gotcha.
So that's the generic idea behind it. But the entire history behind it, I know you said that you kind of wanted a little bit less of this, but it's a small blurb I can give you. Is that it comes from a story from Lewis Carroll about the Jabberwocky.
Yeah, Vorpal Blade was first kind of talked
Yeah,
about in
yeah,
that story.
and it cut the head off the Jabberwocky.
Right, and the Jabberwocky is meant to be like impenetrable.
Yep. So
Wow, that connects the dots for me. Wow.
yep, that's its pretty generalized generic version, and it's quick history.
Wow, that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And
I
it
dig it.
sounds so fantasy-esque. And
Yes.
for some reason, when you hear Vorpal, it has a weird alien-esque twinge to it. Alien in the sense that it's foreign, not alien in the sense that it's from space.
Mhm.
But it gives that strange aura to it that, especially if you're playing a game like this, like if you hear a monster that says, "Oh, I have Vorpal blades," you're gonna be a little intimidated. Especially real life, you'd be intimidated.
Right. Right.
I like that a
So
lot.
yeah, and it's a little bit more history behind it is because it came from Lewis Carroll. I'm looking it up for us right now. It says that many of the words were kind of portmanteau words, which combined existing words from English, such as frumious, for example. It meant fuming and furious. But he never really supplied the meaning for vorpal. So they can't really explain it.
It was just
Doesn't-
natural.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that. It's one. Sorry, excuse me. It's one of those aligning of the stars moments. It just
Mhm.
worked perfectly. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. What other abilities does your D&D Baylor have? Because he has True Seeing. He can dominate monster. He
Nope.
has Blasphemy. He can summon other demons.
Nope.
Really, the D&D Baylor does not do that, huh?
Nope.
Wow, that's a big difference. And these are all at will or 3 time a day abilities.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. No, he's got death throws like yours, a fire aura. So at the
flaming body.
at the start of each turn, creatures within 5 feet take 10 fire damage. Flammable objects aren't being worn or carried ignite. And a creature that touches the Baylor hits it with a melee attack while within 5 feet take 10 fire damage. It's got some magic resistance, magic weapons.
Wow. Does it have any flavored text? Any like description?
Nope.
Yeah, I feel looking up are you on D&D Beyond?
Yep.
Yeah, I feel their stat blocks is just withheld
Boring.
information. Yeah, it's
Boring.
bugging me. I was talking about in the last Monster Spotlight. Going on here, trying to describe the same monster of their version, their system, is so lackluster.
Dude, it is. It is. Like, you're telling me all these really cool things. I'm like, damn it, I just love Pathfinder even more. But
Dude, Pathfinder's the best.
Dude, I'm giving 5e a shot at some point, I swear to God.
I want to just to see what it's all about.
I am going to do it.
But yeah, dude, the Baylor can be a solitary organization, of course, or a war band. And a war band is considered 1 Baylor and 2 to 5. Ooh, what's that? I never heard of this one. Pardon if I can't pronounce this. Maybe you can catch this when I try to say it. A Glabrazuz.
Honestly, that word sounds like something I have to read.
Yeah. Glabrezus. That's a weird one. I want to look up what that creature is. Apparently, that's something that makes a warband.
Save it for the next Monster Spotlight.
Yeah, next week. When folk whisper frightened tales of the demonic, what most envision is a towering figure of fire and flesh, a horned nightmare armed with flaming whips and swords flying through the night in search of its latest victim. The demon these folk fear is the Baylor, and that fear is justly placed, for few demons can match the mighty Baylor in strength or brutality.
So here's something that's kind of interesting. Is that Baylors generally don't leave their realm. So they don't hardly ever come to material plane. When people imagine demons and devils in the night and whatnot, when they imagine those dark things that scare the shit out of them because their religion said they needed to be scared of them, it referenced these things, but it's not like they pop up to the material plane to take people. They have agents of chaos and agents of nefarious activities to do that kind of thing.
Right, especially for a Baylor, that feels more like I'm too royalty to step
Yeah.
on Earth ground unless there's an
Yeah.
invasion. We're not invading, I'm going to sit here in my throne.
Exactly. And so having these flavor texts describe how people are like, oh my god, these are things of what nightmares are made of. Like, yo, bro, you've never seen one. It's never stepped on a material plane. You
Right.
don't know.
You
So-
dare call me a liar? The sacred text. The sacred text says it right here.
Shut up, farmer. I'm an adventurer. I will murder you. That's every D&D game ever.
Yes. That straight up is that should be like a plaque on the back of each book. That line.
Fair enough. So, all right.
I think it's cool because I think it's one of the first monsters that we've brought up in the Monster Spotlight that is like undoubtedly evil, very strong in physical prowess and with magical abilities.
Sure.
It's
Now-
very unique.
Now there's one that I want to suggest then that I look in that you look into because it is similar. Excuse me. It is something that is specific to Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh, a one-eyed wonder.
No.
Oh, not the beholder.
No.
I felt like a dumb narrator at a basketball game just then. I apologize for the cringe.
Dude, it's perfect. It's awesome. It's fun. No,
Yeah.
it's I think that talking about the Elder Brain would be the
Ooh.
secondary equivalent to the Baylor in a kind of the same but opposite, if that makes sense.
It's a different spectrum, but also somewhat the same side of the coin.
Yeah.
I see what you're going there. It's that higher tier, like you don't want to mess with this guy. He's very bad, but it's the other side of bad. That makes any sense.
Yeah, he doesn't have the physical prowess, but he has the mental capacity to really take you out.
Right. Trying to think of a good comparison here between this and the Baylor. A reference comparison. I got nothing right now.
Oh, that's all right. I just came across something that's interesting. So we were talking about 5e, right?
Yeah.
And the Baylor in 5th edition is challenge rating 19. Now, when I came across D&D, we were playing 3rd edition, and his challenge rating was actually 20.
Weird.
Yeah, so they found a way to at least nerf him a little bit. And on the Forgotten Realms fandom page, they have more information on him. By a lot, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But way too much to get into it by this time at the end of the episode. So we might want to circle back around.
Yeah, but Baylors are cool. I feel whenever I imagine a demon lord, even I usually think of this kind of figure to begin with, and
For sure.
the stats and the mechanics of how this creature works, I feel truly helps invoke the aura that this being, this evil creature would invoke whenever you think of this type of thing naturally anyways.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So, all right, let's call it there. I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. Let's give our listeners the chance to actually respond to our poll before they completely forget. We're asking them if they want the modern fantasy noir or the cyberpunk game setting. Remember, you can answer the Facebook poll, which will be up in a day or two from the release of this episode, or you can respond directly through Spotify, and we look forward to hearing your response.
Oh, heck yeah. I actually would love to do some more of these polls as well if the topic demands of it. It'd be really fun.
Yeah, and you know what? We'll even make sure it's online at epictablegames.com, which our new site is 100% live, but not 100% complete. So bear with us while we finalize a few things we didn't have access to while we built it on our local servers.
That's just how it rolls, man. The coding, can't imagine.
Dude, it sucks. I hate doing everything. But we'll catch you next time, everybody.
Peace.
Show with the paladins of the podcast, Rob and Potato. Until next time, stay in touch on Facebook at Epic Table Games and online at epictablegames.com. Yeah. Epic Table Games. Yeah.